Welcome to the WRAL Daily Download. I'm Megan Glova. Durham City Leader got an update this week on crime data from the first half of 2024, so January through June. Joining us now from Durham to talk more about those numbers is WRAL's Monica Casey. Hi, Monica.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Of course. So if you could just go through some of the key data from this crime report.
Yeah, absolutely. So this report looks at January to June, which is the first and second quarter combined. We call it the second quarter crime report, but it looks at that entire 6-month stretch and compares it to 2023 using percentages and totals. So what we see right now as of the end of June is that homicides, rapes, and aggravated assaults are all up over the same time period last year. Violent crime as a whole is up by just about 4%. As of the end of June, we had 24 total homicides. One caveat I want to point out with those rape statistics, we have steadily seen those go up after each crime report, but police tell us that is in part being driven by delayed reporting of rapes, especially with the sexual assault kit initiative. With more of those kits being tested, more people are feeling comfortable coming forward. That's also a caveat we apply to the rape clearance rates because some of these cases are years old and police say it takes a little bit more time to solve those. We're also seeing that property crime as a whole, which includes burglary, larceny, and motor vehicle theft, is up by about 5.5%. So that's a little bit more than violent crime. We see this number fluctuate a lot, and that total is driven by the average of those three crimes. So we're seeing that larceny is up by 8%, which is a pretty big percent increase that we have seen. And then motor vehicle theft and burglary are both down just a little bit, but larcenies are up enough that it's driving all of the property crime total up higher than the start of 2023.
Wow. And something we have been talking a lot about in Durham over the past couple of months is juvenile crime. So can we just dive deeper into juvenile offenses and what types of crime are we seeing committed by young people in Durham?
Yeah, absolutely. So looking back at the first 6 months of 2023, last year, Durham Police recorded a total of 192 juvenile offenses. In the first 6 months of this year, we have seen 289. So that's an increase of about 50% in juvenile crime. And this is not just a Durham issue. It's something we've reported on just this week as a trend we're seeing in Raleigh as well. And so when we talk about juvenile crime, we don't use the terminology charge. We say petitions are filed. It's different language for people who are under 18. So we are seeing petitions filed on juveniles that are as young as 12 years old. Larceny is by far the most common crime that we are seeing juveniles facing, and that makes up 92 of the 289 crimes. So that is a large portion. Other big ones that we are seeing are stolen property, weapons violations, and simple assault. Multiple juveniles facing those kinds of offenses. Unfortunately, we have seen petitions filed on multiple juveniles for both fatal and non-fatal shootings this year. And that tracks with some concerning shooting numbers that we're seeing this year for the entire population. So we've seen fewer shooting incidents by about 25%, but more people have been shot. So we're seeing more shootings with multiple victims. The number of people shot in the first 6 months of this year in Durham is up by 44% over the first 6 months of last year. Fatal shootings are up 16%, and non-fatal shootings are up 50%. We are also seeing the issue of guns being stolen continue to happen. As of the end of June, 268 guns have been stolen, and in all of last year, we were at 441. So we are on track to be at pace or outpace last year. We are the highest we've ever been at the midpoint of this year. So all of these things coming together paint a really concerning picture of crime in Durham right now, with violent crime up, property crime up, juvenile crime up, and the number of people shot up.
Any specific reasons why that law enforcement can pinpoint this increase in crime in general or that increase in juvenile crime?
In terms of in general, one thing that we have heard police discuss many times is people not knowing how to talk with each other. It's something we've heard law enforcement say, and it's something we've heard community leaders say, is they're seeing these arguments just kind of spiraling out of control and people pulling out guns, unfortunately. With young people, one cause they are attributing it to is basically young people not having anything to do to occupy their time, nothing safe for them to do, nothing worthwhile for them to do. And that is one reason there is often a lot of concern as we look at summer months. And this crime report shows that with young people out of school, we often see a big uptick in crime of the entire population.
And Monica, you did speak with Durham Police Chief Patrice Andrews about all of this. We'll hear more about that conversation when we come back. So, Monica, when you spoke with Chief Patrice Andrews, what was her response to this crime data as a whole, then specifically those juvenile offenses?
So the interesting part about this crime data, it ends at the end of June. So at this point, it's almost the end of August. So this data is a little bit older. And often when police give this presentation to Durham City Council, they acknowledge they're talking about it's good data, but it's 2 months old. And so during the last presentation of the first quarter crime report, that was in May, and we were in the middle of this violent spree. And we heard the chief and we heard city council members say, we are dreading the next report. And now it's here. Now we're seeing this. In fact, one of the city council members, Chelsea Cook, actually was brought to tears by this crime report, just saying every victim of gun violence has a family. It is something that is touching everyone in Durham. And that's something that we've heard from the chief before as well. We have seen her get emotional about this. She is a parent herself. She points out in terms of this crime report and where we are now, we're not just seeing young people as suspects in these violent crimes, we're seeing them as victims. We've seen children as young as 2 and 3 years old shot this year in Durham. As of right now, speaking at the end of August, there have been 20 people under the age of 18 shot in Durham so far this year. And one is too many at any age, but that is a staggering number. I spoke with the chief about the causes of this. She talked about guidance. With youth crime, these are children, these are teenagers, these are people who their brains aren't fully developed yet, right? And so she's talked a lot about positive role models for these young people, whether it's a parent, a guardian, a community member. She talked about the need for these young people to go back to what we said earlier, have something to do with themselves, but also someone to look up to, someone who is not involved in crime. That is a big thing that she has pushed for. And she did say she's starting to see the tide turn a little bit with people recognizing that the police department cannot solve this alone. It's a soundbite we've heard from many people for months and years that this crime is a community issue, not a police issue. And she says she is starting to see more people getting involved with these young people, trying to steer them on the right path.
Right. And with that being said, can you give us any specific actions that are being taken by Durham Police or the community to address youth crime? Maybe are they offering anything, like you said, more things for these kids to do?
They are. So one big plus right now, we're looking at students going back to school next week. And I asked the chief about that. Are you feeling hopeful? We talk about kids not having anything to do. Here's something that all kids should be doing, right? And she said, she is hopeful about that, and that is helpful. But then they have to start looking at what are kids doing after school. And it is easier to occupy a kid after school than it is for the full day. It's more financially feasible as well than a whole day at summer camp, right? So DPD is getting involved in some of those camps and things like that. They're looking at maybe a bookmobile, that kind of thing, So they are getting involved, but you have to remember DPD is only 74% staffed with sworn officers. So they are doing as much as they possibly can right now, the chief says, and it's time for the community to really wrap their arms around people. So one big initiative that was just unveiled last week, Mayor Leonardo Williams unveiled what he calls the Bull City Future Fund. And this is a way for members of our community to donate and get involved with community groups and nonprofits who are already out here doing this work with young people. There are tons of groups doing great work in Durham. That is a fact for sure, but they can always use more support. So this is a way for people to do more with those groups that are directly working with these young people.
Great. And any specific place that folks listening can find those resources or find those ways to help?
Yes, absolutely. The Bull City Future Fund has a website and it has a link to donate right there. And we can make sure that it's on our website, WRAL.com, attached to the story about this latest crime report.
Very important efforts and information there out of Durham. Monica, thanks so much. And thank you for listening to the WRAL Daily Download. You can find more podcasts from WRAL News at WRAL.com. Search podcast. From sports to true crime, there are plenty of shows to keep you informed and entertained. Thanks for being with us, and of course, thanks for listening.